There was a creator on TikTok. I'm going to play it for you in just a second, but was talking about an article and basically says Gen Z says that boomers will never understand today's struggle. Take a look at this, everybody, for a quick second.
Boomers will never understand today's struggle because they could afford to buy a Cadillac off of a $30,000 salary and be able to qualify for a home. Why can't you just admit that it was easier 30, 40 years ago? I am 36 years old. Just 15 years ago, when I was 21, living in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities in the country, I was crushing it, making $2,200 a month, serving at the Outback Steakhouse just 4 days a week. Me and my buddies split a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment. Our groceries were $50 a week a piece. We used to go to breakfast 3 days a week. We used to go to the bars 3 days a week. We furnished our entire apartment. We used to go buy DVD sets. We had disposable income. We were saving money off of $2,200. We were never worried about bills at all. And then $100,000 back in the day, just 12 years ago, you were crushing it. When I first made my first $100,000, I went and got a BMW. You know what the monthly payment was? $333. One of the nicest apartments in LA, a 2-bed, 2-bath plus loft, was $2,300. Today, $2,300 is a studio apartment. You need at least $200,000 to feel the same purchasing power as you did just 12 years ago at the 100 grand. I don't know why the boomers can't admit that.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it. He is not lying. Okay, so of course, in true, Kaylani fashion, I had to go back and find this article and all of that. One of the things that, and we're going to pivot a little bit. This is, an economic conversation, but I got into a debate probably like a week ago with my dad, who is Gen X, mind you, not quite a boomer, but Gen X. And we were sitting around having a conversation, and there's this sentiment or this air about millennials and Gen Z being lazy and they don't want to work and they're just complaining and all of this stuff. And I said, sir, I'm so sorry that the affordability of living life these days is not the same as what it was back then. That doesn't mean I don't want to work. Are you kidding me? Not only is the world sad, is it depressed, is it at war every 5 seconds? Not only is work so there's so much movement or lack thereof. Not only is the economy, is inflation super, super high. Not only is rent super, super high. Not only are groceries super, super high, but you mean to tell me that this is because millennials and Gen Z don't want to work? You are absolutely out of your freaking mind. So when I saw that TikTok, I said, oh, I have to bring this to That's What She Said and get another take on it. So I also pulled some data to support this this claim. So, first of all, if you are a boomer or Gen X watching this and you have this perception that folks don't want to work, don't ever say that again. We're not living in your
reality. Let me just share this comment real quick. I got on Instagram from a boomer, and they said boomers are struggling now also. Most of us are retired and are on a fixed income. So on a fixed income from that's based off of an income that they had back in the day, with these inflation numbers, like they aren't living their best lives either. So
I feel like they're starting to feel it, right? So I've got godparents, very similar situation, right? Fixed income, really debated earlier on in the year what they were going to do with their home. Should we sell it? Do we need to downsize? And it's like, whoa, this is crazy. They're affected too. But this, there are some, that are still doing well, right? Save for retirement well, and whatever the case may be. Boomers, Gen X, don't say that anymore. You live in this world today, right? This is our world now, right? This is the new reality of things. And I'm glad that you got, this great life where you were able to, create wealth reasonably at a younger age. I'm so glad. That's just not our reality today. So I did some digging, pulled some data, and I just want to, read off a couple of stats, but let's choose 1980 as the year. So boomers were born between 46 and 64. So let's give them at least a 20-year delta to buy a house, right, for the 1964 boomers. And let's just say they purchased their first house in 1980. Let me go back to my screen. The average, median home price in 1980 was $62,200. The average salary in 1980 was $19,200. The percent of your income for your annual mortgage payments was only 20.87% of your income to afford said mortgage at that time. You had also experienced in 1980 a pretty hefty, sizable salary increase over that. I'm sorry, I don't have that one broken down by the year, only a 5-year stat for progress. But let's fast forward all the way to 2023 since those stats are out. Average salary in 2023, $73,000. Average home price, $426,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the percentage of your income for your mortgage payment on an annual basis is now 37.62%. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of talk about this again.
Yeah. Gen
X, what am I saying? Gen X and boomers, you got to give us a break here. I mean, this is the current reality that we're living in.
Let me just share like a couple of things. Number one, people were saying that boomers, like we were saying, boomers are feeling it too, but boomers are now staying in the workforce longer because they can't even afford, like even with the things that they've had, like they're staying in the workforce longer. But also it was a comment in there that says that it's unfortunate that the hyper-competitive culture of our capitalist consumerism can create an us versus them diatribe in our discourse. So I think that's true. Like, like, I think, like it's really not us versus them. I think we're all struggling. We're all feeling it. But as someone who's going through it in real time and seeing those numbers, you're like, yeah, but you had it a lot easier. But everybody is out here feeling it. And I think that's the overall sentiment that people are getting to. Like, yeah, it's not us versus them, but
well, if you hear a boomer, if you hear a boomer say that millennials and Gen Z don't want to work, it's the same as them saying music isn't what it was anymore. Your music is trash, right? Because it was what they were used to. It's something that they know versus what we know. And I'll tell you why I say that. Is because you have a 16-year-old marketing on Twitter who's making an average of $30,000 a month with $100,000 saved in their account. And you think because they're sitting in their bedroom with headphones on that they don't want to work and that they're lazy because they don't want to mow the lawn, right? Or they don't want to ride a bike at 5 a.m. and throw newspapers on people's lawns. So I think that's where the misconception comes from. So if you say back in my day, well, it's not back in your day anymore because I have a 16-year-old on Twitter who's making 30 grand a month selling whatever they're selling. Also, you have a guy like Sahil who used to work at Pinterest, the creator of Gumroad, who made his first dollar on the internet selling a picture that he sketched on a piece of paper of a pencil. A picture of a pencil. So you don't understand, Mr. Boomer. Okay, Boomer, you don't understand that there is money made on the internet that doesn't require me waking up at 4 a.m., riding a bike and throwing newspapers on someone's lawn. And I would like to add to that argument that the Gen Z makes up 21% of the US population, and over 63% of them, when surveyed, said that they still associate owning a home with the American dream. You can't be lazy and still associate owning a home with the American dream. You understand the value of taking that money and laying roots and having a primary residence. So I would argue that the facts kind of, disprove those emotions that are expressed through the boomer population who just see things a lot differently. My mom doesn't understand a lot of the things I do, but I do them because she was born in 1949 and I was born in 1998. Just kidding.
I was like, hold on, boo.
It's like, is she still a millennial or is she Gen Z now? I wasn't sure. Right. Absolutely not. You look amazing. Well, and I think too, a sentiment that we're hearing a lot from Gen X too is that they're taking care of their adult kids longer, right? It takes a while for folks to get out of the house. And parents are really having to support. And they're like, what the heck? When I was your age, this wasn't the problem. And it's like, dude, for you at my age, for you moving out and doing your own thing cost you 2 pennies, right? Like you were paying whole ass rent for $300 a month. Like it's a whole different vibe out here. It's a whole different energy. It's a whole different requirement. It's a whole different demand on us at this point. And then that's just the housing component, right? So if we have agreed that on the show, we've said that home ownership is now becoming a luxury, which Patty, you've said that like a million gazillion times at this point. If homeownership is becoming a luxury, yet Gen Z are expected to be able to, not be lazy and to, put down some roots and take care of themselves in that capacity. How is that even possible? My question is, what's the starter home culture looking like right now? Are people down for starter homes anymore? Like, is that even a thing?
That's a very good question. Naseema, I'll just answer this quickly and say that's exactly why you're hearing headlines that say home prices are coming down. Home prices are not coming down.
They're not.
Homes are 6.4% higher. But let me tell you what's happening about your question with starter homes. People are buying smaller homes. So they're buying in a lower price range instead of pushing their limits to a higher price range, making the reality of starting with a starter home much more appealing than stretching the budget as they have been for the last decade. So to answer your question about smaller homes, many, many Americans who are pre-approved are going for the smaller homes in the new build and in the resale community because they understand that they need to spend more money and start smaller. My very first house was a $248,000 halfplex. It was a tiny 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, but I owned it and I rode my Honda with a lot of pride onto that driveway. So yeah, you should start small and you shouldn't be picky when you're buying your first house.
House hacking is the way to go, I say.
Yeah, that's a fundamental strategy. And that's one of the very first things, like whenever in Wire or when people ask, how do I even start investing? How do I get into investing? How do I create a portfolio for myself? The very first recommendation I could ever even make is house hacking. 100%, one of the very first ways to start. And if anyone is unclear on what house hacking actually is, if you think about having your home, owning your home, renting out a bedroom, that is house hacking. You are hacking your bills essentially in half by splitting them with someone. But that same principle applies for small multifamily assets, 2 to 4 units as well, which there are a lot of loan programs that Patty Goodspeed can offer you to explore that option. And the income or the projected rents for those extra units will count toward your income when, I hope I'm saying that right, count toward your income when you are qualifying for that loan.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. All right. So moral of the story is boomers, get off it. Okay. Just get with the program. Get off it. All right.